Earning respect is frequently misunderstood and misapplied. Many believe it's something you demand, something others owe you by virtue of position, title, or loudness. But Stoic philosophy, as taught by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, reminds us that respect is never granted by decree. It's earned quietly, through the quality of your character, the discipline of your actions, and the integrity of your presence. In a culture obsessed with appearances and instant gratification, this truth is radical. Respect begins within. It is a reflection of your mastery over self, your adherence to principles even when no one is watching, and your steady commitment to virtue in the face of life's unpredictable challenges. When you embody these qualities, respect ceases to be something you chase. It becomes an inevitable byproduct of your existence. Today, we will explore 5 profound, yet simple practices drawn from the well of Stoic wisdom, practices that, when embodied deeply, will help you earn genuine respect from almost anyone you meet. This is about building silent authority, nurturing meaningful relationships, and cultivating an unshakable foundation of personal dignity. 1. Cultivate self-respect through inner discipline. Self-respect is the bedrock upon which all other respect is built. Without it, any attempt to command respect from others is fragile and fleeting. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who faced constant external turmoil, understood this truth profoundly. No matter the chaos outside, a man who governs himself with reason and virtue remains unshaken. But cultivating this self-respect is neither easy nor instantaneous. It requires daily commitment, quiet courage, and a willingness to confront your own weaknesses without flinching. I remember a period in my life when I was at a crossroads. Professionally, I was overwhelmed. Deadlines, expectations, and responsibilities felt like weights that threatened to crush me. Personally, I was restless, easily irritated, and prone to complaining about everything that wasn't fair. I justified it by pointing fingers at circumstances and people around me. Yet, every night I felt hollow inside, a gnawing sense that I was betraying myself. It was a slow burn of dissatisfaction that no external change seemed to fix. One morning, after waking up late and missing an important meeting, I looked at myself in the mirror and realized something had to change. This moment of raw honesty was the beginning of cultivating self-respect. I started small, waking up an hour earlier, dedicating that time to meditation, journaling, and setting intentional goals. I committed to finishing what I started, honoring my promises to myself, and facing discomfort rather than running from it. At first, the discipline felt heavy and restrictive. But as days turned to weeks, a subtle transformation took root. The restless irritation gave way to calm confidence. The compulsive complaints turned into thoughtful reflection. I wasn't perfect, but I was steadily becoming a man who valued his own worth enough to show up fully. This internal shift rippled outward. Colleagues and friends began noticing my steadiness. I no longer needed to demand respect. It came quietly because I was no longer asking for permission to be valued. Self-respect is not arrogance or selfish pride. It is a deep honoring of your potential and a refusal to abandon yourself to fleeting moods or circumstances. It is in the small acts, choosing to keep your word, holding your boundaries firm, and practicing patience with your own flaws. This discipline over your inner world sets a tone that others naturally pick up on. When you respect yourself, you radiate a presence that commands respect in return. Ask yourself, what small act of discipline can I commit to today that honors my values? Where am I betraying myself through neglect or excuse? The journey to earning respect from others begins with a courageous, unflinching commitment to respect the person you see in the mirror every day. 2. Speak with honesty and purpose, the power of truth. Stoicism teaches us that integrity in speech is a reflection of integrity in character. Seneca wisely observed, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay," but this principle extends beyond anger. It reminds us to speak with intention, not impulse. Honesty is not merely about avoiding lies. It is about embracing the discipline to communicate with clarity, courage, and respect for the truth, even when it is uncomfortable. In our modern world, words are often cheap and easy to misuse. Social media encourages quick judgments, hyperbole, and performative statements that erode trust. Many speak to be heard, not to be understood. But genuine respect is rooted in the trustworthiness of your voice. When others know your words are measured, sincere, and purposeful, they naturally listen and value what you say. I've experienced firsthand how choosing honesty over convenience transforms relationships. Early in my career, I once faced a difficult conversation with a colleague who had made a mistake affecting a shared project. I could have smoothed things over with vague language or blamed external factors, but I chose a different path. I spoke honestly about the problem and took responsibility for my part in the oversight. 3. Own your mistakes and grow from them, the courage to be accountable. There is a quiet strength in admitting when you're wrong. A strength that doesn't shout, doesn't demand, doesn't deflect. It simply stands firm in the face of imperfection and says, "I did this, and I will grow from it." Stoic philosophy teaches us that we are not disturbed by events themselves, but by our judgments about them. In that same spirit, our mistakes don't define us, our refusal to learn from them does. In a world where people often scramble to protect their ego, admitting fault has become rare, and because of that, it's become powerful. Most people avoid responsibility like a wound that's too painful to touch. But the Stoics understood this discomfort as a necessary part of self-mastery. Epictetus taught, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Accountability is the gateway to growth. It humbles the ego and opens the path to wisdom. Let me tell you a story. There was a time when I led a small creative team on an important client project. I was confident, even a little proud. I had a vision, and I expected others to simply execute it. I dismissed concerns, overlooked warning signs, and by the time the deadline hit, we delivered something the client was deeply disappointed with. I wanted to blame the team. I wanted to point out their missed tasks, their lack of initiative, their silence in meetings. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had led poorly. I had confused control for leadership, and my pride had silenced collaboration. It took everything in me to walk into that room the next day and say, "This failure begins with me." But I did. I owned it completely, not as a performance, not with excuses, just truth. And something surprising happened. The atmosphere shifted. The resentment I had sensed the day before began to fade. People opened up. The team grew stronger, more cohesive. And more importantly, I grew. I learned to lead with humility, to ask questions instead of always giving orders, to create space for others to contribute their genius. That moment of ownership transformed not only my career but my character. To own your mistakes is not to shame yourself, it is to dignify yourself. It is to say, I am not above error, but I am committed to truth. This kind of accountability earns deep respect because it shows people that your ego doesn't rule you, your values do. It proves that you are trustworthy, not because you are flawless, but because you are honest. And in a deeper, more internal way, self-respect grows from this same soil. You begin to see that you are capable of being both fallible and powerful. That your errors are not the end of your worth, but the beginning of your refinement. This is where transformation lives, not in the illusion of perfection, but in the practice of self-correction. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly owned a mistake, without sugarcoating, without shifting blame? Are you living with the kind of integrity that allows others to trust you even when you falter? Respect isn't about being right all the time. It's about being real all the time. And in that realness, in that radical responsibility, you don't just earn respect from others. You earn it from yourself. 4. Practice calm strength, not loud force, the power of presence without noise. There is a kind of respect that cannot be demanded, explained, or even easily defined. It is the respect that flows towards someone whose presence is calm, focused, and self-assured. They don't interrupt. They don't dominate. They don't shout. And yet, when they enter a room, the energy subtly shifts. People quiet down, not out of fear, but out of recognition. That is the silent authority of calm strength. Stoic philosophy holds this ideal in high regard. Marcus Aurelius, perhaps one of the most powerful men to ever live, wrote more about stillness than strategy. He didn't see greatness in domination or noise, but in self-control and reason. In his meditations, he reminds us that the wise man is like a cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. That image is the essence of calm strength. It is not weakness, it is restraint practiced with purpose. In today's world, where loudness is often mistaken for leadership, and speed for wisdom, practicing calm strength is a radical act. People are quick to react, eager to assert dominance, and obsessed with appearing strong in a superficial way. But true inner power needs no performance. The Stoics believed that the highest form of strength is mastery over your own mind. Think about the people you've respected most in your life. Were they the loudest in the room? The quickest to speak? Or were they the ones who listened deeply, who didn't rush to answer but gave words that landed with weight because they had been filtered through reflection and clarity? Calm strength is rare, and that rarity is what makes it magnetic. This strength is cultivated, not inherited. It grows in the silent moments. When you choose not to react to provocation, when you hold your tongue rather than feed your ego, when you step back and see the whole picture rather than be consumed by the drama of the moment. These are daily choices. Invisible to most, but deeply felt by all. One of the most powerful things I've learned from the Stoics is this. When you master your reaction, you master the moment. And in mastering the moment, you rise above it, not in ego, but in elegance. Let's be clear. Calm strength is not passivity. It's not shrinking back or avoiding conflict. It's the difference between a candle and a controlled fire. One flickers at every breeze, the other warms an entire room or forges steel. When you possess this kind of strength, your actions become deliberate. Your presence becomes grounding. And in a world full of noise, people crave that more than they know. Reflect deeply. Do you lead with volume or with vision? Are you reacting from emotion or responding with intention? When you choose calm strength, you're not just controlling your behavior, you're sending a message to the world. I do not need to shout, because I know who I am. And that kind of certainty is what earns deep, lasting respect. 5. Live your values, even when no one's watching. integrity as a way of being. There's a difference between appearing to have character and truly having it. One is external and fragile, easily shattered the moment eyes turn away. The other is internal, rooted, and unwavering, even in silence, even in solitude. The Stoics taught that the truest test of a person's character is what they do when no one is watching. Seneca wrote, "What is right is not always popular, and what is popular is not always right." Integrity is the quiet rebellion against the easy path. That conversation wasn't easy, but it was honest. And in the end, it deepened our mutual respect. He appreciated the clarity and accountability, and I earned trust not by being perfect, but by being real. That's the power of truth. It grounds relationships in reality, not illusion. When you speak with honesty and purpose, your words carry weight. They don't just inform, they transform. People begin to listen, not because you're loud, but because you're reliable. Your voice becomes one that others turn to when it matters most. Ask yourself, do I speak to impress or to express? Am I using my words to elevate truth or protect ego? Let your speech be a reflection of your values, not a tool for validation. When you speak from a place of grounded integrity, respect is not far behind.